air, water, earth, fire. For hundreds of years, the four nations have lived in harmony. The Avatar, master of all four elements, was always responsible for maintaining the peace. But Avatar Roku passed away 13 years ago. Now, the four nations look to the air nomads to reveal the next Avatar, but the world is met with silence. Rumors from the Earth Kingdom abound that the Fire Nation is planning an aggressive move into the Earth Kingdom. 5 young heroes were too late to save the Southern Air Temple, but hold vital information that could save the Earth Kingdom, and maybe even save the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Flying Bison podcast. This definitely isn't our second attempt at recording our first episode, so just stop asking about a secret cut, everybody. Be ridiculous. We are professionals here.
Yes.
No, but in all
no mistakes
ever. But in all seriousness, we did record a first episode, and we had a couple technical issues. So we are recording this as sort of a bonus episode. And it's either going to be sort of a companion alongside of the first episode. We might just release it as the first episode, depending on how well it goes. But either way, we are happy that you are here. I am Justin, your GM and storyteller. For those who are still getting to know us or don't know us yet, I've been playing tabletop role-playing games for about a decade now. And I actually started with one of our cast members, Danny, with the Pathfinder beginner box. And so I love Avatar and Korra watched them when they first came out. And so this just felt like a natural progression for me. Now, fun fact, my formal training is in philosophy and ethics, so I am really going to make my players feel the weight of their poor choices throughout this entire podcast. That's the goal. That's my hope anyway. But I would like to introduce my good friends. We've been playing together since both of us got into tabletop RPGs. Danny Wickman, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Danny. Yeah, like Justin said, I started playing, I was introduced to RPGs with the Pathfinder role-playing game, and I've just been sort of fascinated ever since. I've GM'd a couple games, played in a couple games. Now I'm playing in this one, you know? And yeah, you know, I'm happy to be here.
I said that when I introduced you, you say that all the time. Happy to be here.
Do I really? Oh yeah, I do. Well, you know, it's true. I'm always happy to be here.
Wherever he is.
Wherever I am.
Is there ever a place that you've been where you're not happy to be? Like, I can think of a number of places I would not be happy to be. Like an abandoned carnival.
You know,
That's scary.
Can't think of any right now.
You can't think of
maybe it was
any
that.
place.
Maybe it was that first. Maybe it was that first recording when the technical difficulties happened. You know, I just wanted to dip, but you know, I stayed vigilant.
Well, we thank you for sticking with us. We're happy you're here as well too.
Oh, thank you.
Next up is actually, I think I've known him. I was thinking about this. I think I've known this person the longest out of anybody in the group. Steve Durgan, please convince our listeners why they should care about you as a person.
Oh gosh, the pressure is on.
Oh, no.
Silence.
Did we lose Steve?
No, he just doesn't have any good reason.
He just doesn't have.
Am I frozen now?
You're not frozen anymore.
You're no longer frozen.
Did I freeze as soon as he asked me the question?
So that's your answer.
That's good, because I froze in real life. So why? Oh no, that's so forward. Why should they care about me as a person? Hi, I'm Steve. There are probably interesting things about me, but when I'm put on the spot, I can't think of them. Do you want to do a little bit on like tabletop and nerdiness?
Please.
Yeah, so I am a big fan of Avatar, and watched some of it initially as a kid on Nickelodeon and fell in love. And I think it just is like a fixture in my mind that shapes how I think about story and fantasy and fiction. And I'm working on a novel myself, and I cannot help but tap into the avatarness sometimes. So it's just a big influence for me. And I think what I'm most excited about is just like the sheer playfulness of the Avatar world and what that kind of invites for us as adults pretending to be like preteens and teens. So this is going to be hilarious and good time. But I also love like the like strong positive messages too. So this will be good. And I'm happy that we have someone with training in ethics as the GM.
You'll regret that choice in a couple episodes, hopefully. We'll see. All right. He is in the middle of a move, so I just can't believe that he's here. We're so excited to have him. Johnny Button. Johnny Button, everybody.
Hello.
Johnny, why don't you regale our audiences with your exploits?
Oh, man. So where do I start? No, I am much like Steve in the middle of working on a novel. Always, finding different ways to engage with my nerdiness, both in public and in private. Been playing tabletop RPGs since college. Watched Avatar: The Last Airbender when it first came out on Nickelodeon. I think I was in middle school when it started, and then when Legend of Korra came out, I was 22 and was just as excited to start that as I was when the original show came out, and I was a little kid. But yeah, so I'm super excited to be here and to play and jump in.
We're excited you are here as well. How's the move going? You doing good?
The move is going pretty smoothly so far. Lots of packing. The listening audience doesn't know this, but where I normally have many things behind me is totally blank, and that's because everything is in boxes downstairs now.
I'm glad it's going. Maybe one day they'll see our faces on a video stream or something.
After I can afford to hire a body double.
Yes.
And
yeah, I'll sign up for that too.
Give it different.
That's our first Patreon goal, is a body double for Johnny.
Yeah,
We could get that on Craigslist for like $20.
We can do it for $5.
Fiverr.
I started watching with Abby the other day. She'd never seen this, but I'm rewatching it. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, I love Brooklyn
And
Nine-Nine.
all the Halloween episodes with the body double. So good.
Yep,
So good. All right. Our next player, she may be new to the world of Avatar and tabletop role-playing games, but she is a powerhouse of a player. Monroe Hayden, why don't you remind our listeners why you will inevitably be their favorite character and player?
Ooh, that's quite an introduction and quite a promise. Thank you for putting that on my shoulders. I will be everyone's favorite character. Yeah, well, a little bit about myself. I played once Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. I think I was in my teens, so that was a few decades ago. And I didn't really watch Avatar. I did watch the last Airbender movie, which I've been told to just forget about. And, I'm cool with that. So when I was told about this podcast, I started watching Avatar, the series, and I started with Korra, but then I realized it was a sequel and decided to cut that and just focus on Avatar. And yeah, and I really like it. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm actually having a really good time.
Good. I'm having a great time. I'm glad everyone's here. I've only been playing with some of you for a little bit, but you have become some of my favorite people to play games with. So I'm glad you're all here. Where are you now in The Last Airbender? Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I'm still in season 1. A lot of stuff has been going on, so I haven't been able to watch it. But yeah, I think it's really early on still, actually, because yeah, you know what? I have to watch it again to see where I'm at. And you put me on the spot, so I'm just like, oh, dude, I don't know. It's okay.
And finally, last and least of our group, but by no means the least important, Nick Coplin.
Oh, it's the least important. It's the least in many respects. But yeah, I'm here. Just really love playing tabletop RPGs. Had a conversation with Justin today earlier, that made me realize I might be too into Avatar and know too much about it. But yeah, I'm very excited to play this game. I'm very excited to play with you guys. Yeah.
We all have our strengths, right? And that's one of the reasons why I like all these people here. You are definitely the lore guy. Like, if I've got a lore question about the Avatar verse, I guarantee you Nick knows the answer to it.
I don't know. It's all I've retained. Just Avatar facts, nothing else.
I just wish sometimes that like I could remember school or work stuff the way I can remember Pokemon facts or
Exactly, yes.
Magic the Gathering cards.
I will never forget like what element in Pokemon is strong and weak against other elements, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
I cannot for the life of
You gotta
me,
know.
like remember like passwords.
Yeah, but I know that the original Snorlax Pokemon card is 1,014 pounds.
That's very important work. In fact, I think
It's important.
you should put that on your resume.
I probably should.
Yeah. Well, that's the cast and crew. We're gonna walk through our campaign today and some character creations. We've chosen a lot of those elements, like I said in that first episode, but we wanted to spend some time, I think, digging a little bit more into our choices, and this kind of affords us an opportunity to do that. So we're gonna walk through everything as though we're choosing the campaign options for the first time, choosing the character options for the first time, but we just won't be spending a lot of time discussing them. And it opens up a lot more time for us to ask questions of each other and flesh out our choices a bit more. So the first thing that you would do, listeners, if you were also playing Avatar Legends, is you would pick the era that you are playing in. And there are 5 eras in the game: Kyoshi, Roku, 100 Years War, Avatar Aang, and Avatar Korra. And for this, we've chosen the 100 Years War. So we've actually decided that it's going to be right at the very beginning of the 100 Years War. So instead of right before Avatar Aang comes back, it's actually going to be right as Avatar Roku passes and the air temples are destroyed. So the air temple destruction is sort of the beginning of our pilot episode and season. After that, we are going to you're going to choose your scope. And this can be anything as small as a single Fire Nation temple or as large as the entire world. We're sort of, caught between a bigger scope, such as, exploring the Earth Kingdom, and then the whole world. We might kind of move in and out between those things. But we wanted to let you, the listeners, and also us as players, try and experience as much of the world of Avatar as possible. After that, though, you're going to choose your group focus. And it's at this point I'm going to bring in some of my friends here, and they are going to answer these questions, and then we'll kind of just discuss them for you. So the first thing you have to do is choose your group focus, which is the thing that your group is dedicated to. It's the thing that no one of you is able to accomplish on your own, and something that needs all of you in order to accomplish. So who wants to be, does anyone remember what we chose?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, I think we chose to deliver news to primarily the Earth Kingdom, but basically like everybody, the news of some kind of destruction of the air temples. I don't know what we witnessed or how we come about or how much news we really have, but it's enough for us to be like, we gotta spread the word.
Yeah, we got to tell them that the air temples are destroyed. We have an airbender with us.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, someone is playing an airbender. And we're going to get into that, actually, I think, because as we detail our inciting incident, which is next, I've got a few questions that I want to ask to make sure that everything flows. But yeah, so the next thing we would do after choosing our group focus is to deliver news of the destruction of the air nomads to the Earth King, and then along the way to deliver it to other people that we encounter. But your inciting incident is sort of the pilot of your your group, right? It's the pilot episode. It's the first thing that people would see if they were to watch your show. So it's got your typical Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and there are a bunch of choices that you can make in each of those acts, and you have to choose one option in each act. In Act 1, let's just start with it, and then we can just ask questions during this time. Like, if anyone else has any questions too, like they want to ask a narrative question or a clarifying question of someone, just feel free to ask it. But what did y'all choose for what did we choose for our Act 1?
We learned the frightening plans of General She. Is that what we decided? Is it She?
Yep.
On our way to attack the Earth Kingdom after being instrumental in taking out the air nomads.
Yeah, because she is the one that destroyed the air temple.
It's like all coming back to me.
We spelled it XI though, so it's not. It's a little. It's traditional in that sense. Very funny. So here's what I'm wondering. And we will maybe get into this a little bit when we jump into characters, but what are each of your characters doing? Like, how did none of your characters except for maybe Nick and Danny's character knew each other before this moment. So how are you all together, and what caused you to collectively learn this information?
So Danny's characters and mine was probably running from what would probably be the beachhead of the Fire Nation. And we might have just been heading, I forget which, Johnny, which temple was your character coming from?
My character was originally from the Southern Air Temple.
Okay, so we could have been heading south. You could have been heading north. By the same token, Ren Song could have been wherever we ended up meeting up, and just could have just been this, everybody colliding in one area.
Yeah, I think it would make sense for my character to have run into any number of you on the road. I think my character wasn't at the air temple when the destruction started, but was on the way there.
So you're envisioning this Act 1 as almost like you would see, this is your first time seeing the air temple that used to be your home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Trying to look to Nick, I think it is because Kyoshi Island is on the south side of the Earth Kingdom, right?
Yes, the very, very southern tip. Perfect. It's really, really close to the Southern Air Temple, actually.
It's really close to the Southern Air Temple. Well, that's perfect.
We meet on Kyoshi.
That could be a place for me to escape when I totally ditch Kyoshi Island.
Sure. Okay. I like that.
Well, maybe you're looking to escape Kyoshi and we all meet up there.
Sure.
And then you get a chance. This is your chance to leave,
Whatever you think, GM. What do you think is easiest? Because if we start on Kyoshi Island, we're gonna have to deal with Kyoshi Island.
Well, it wouldn't. This is just the pilot episode, so our actual play would take place after this pilot episode. So you might not start at Kyoshi. Your character might start on Kyoshi Island, but I liked that idea of like maybe you've heard of the free spirit air nomads, and you're like, maybe they'll just let me do whatever I want. And
yes.
And so you start making your way to the Southern Air Temple. Meanwhile, we've got the Longshore brothers, Danny and Nick's characters, making their way away from the Fire Nation towards the Southern Air Temple. And so we
probably
what?
So we could meet up. So if we didn't want to meet up in Kyoshi Island, we could meet up in Chin Village, which is the village right at the tip of it's where that General Chin died and Kyoshi killed him. And then the swamp is actually just north of that. So we're actually within range of where Monroe's character came from.
Yes. Well, look at that.
I like it.
Look at that. Yeah. So Monroe, why do you think your character is around the air temple, or is making their way towards that way?
All right. So just so that way there's a disclaimer. I'm really new to this franchise, so I'm going to be the one who's going to need a lot of help.
Totally
As
fair.
far as Liko, I don't think she had any interest in what was going on there. I think she was just kind of moving from place to place, and something happened, and then she bumped into all these boys, and she was like, okay, well, I guess. Well, we're all like, but preteens. I think that's what we discussed. So yeah, to boys. When you guys think you're men now, because you're like
I had
16,
put age
17.
16.
At least one of us does.
He definitely thinks he's
At 16, I definitely think I'm a grown man. No one else does. Maybe toddlers do.
Well, we could meet up before, like, we could try to cut through the swamp or something, and we could meet up with Liko, or, you know, we could already be together and we could meet up with her. We could even meet up with her in Act 2. I mean, if that's...
So we're going to get to Act 2 in a second.
Okay.
In my head, what do you guys think about this as... I like the idea of, like, Act 1 starting off and, like, the scene just, like, opens with, like, Osa looking at the air temple and doesn't know what to do, and for whatever reason, you know, Ren Song is making his way to the air temple, doesn't know what happened. Maybe Monroe's just or Liko's just traveling right around, and you guys, the Longshares, are fleeing from the Fire Nation, so you're just making your way in that direction, not specifically towards the air temple, but maybe you all see the destruction that happens, and for whatever reason, you know, meet up with Osa. And I think in my head, I don't know what you guys think about this, in my head, in this Act 1, I think you get captured by General Shi.
All of us?
Yeah, because I think it makes sense with what happens in Act 2, or at least in the way that I'm sort of weaving Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 together. So we can come back to that. Maybe or maybe you don't get captured. But what is our Act 2? Who wants to take that one?
So we stole a dragon otter from Captain Saikon, captain of Dragon Hunters.
Yeah, so in my head, I'm envisioning like you getting captured in Act 1, beginning of Act 1, or end of Act 1, and escaping by stealing this dragon otter.
It's a great way to escape.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I don't know. I wanted to kick it a little bit to Monroe and Liko, because I don't know. This means that, you know, your dragon otter Rue isn't someone that's been with you for a long time. It's like a recent companion. So I don't know if that's what you were envisioning, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, I would think that we would need somebody who could at least connect with the dragon otter to keep it tame, or at least be able to navigate where we're going to go. Because if this is a dragon otter that's been contained or caged for a very long time, or they captain of dragon hunters. So would you think is a dragon hunter? Okay, so yeah, the dragon otter is probably a captive, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be
Set
like
it free.
Yeah, so you're gonna need somebody who could at least connect with it, and I guess because we're captured, we need a way out. Liko sees the dragon otter and kind of just connects with him. And did we decide if Rue was a girl or a boy? Did you guys remember?
I don't think we did.
No.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
Let's have her be a girl, because there's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So
Gotta counter that
Yeah.
dude energy.
yeah, we need some female representation
We
here.
100%
So
do.
yeah. So Liko connects with her and she says, all right, well, we can try this. And that's how we escape.
I kind of first like it reminds me of like those stories where like everybody's escaping and like one character's like, we got to set the animals free too, and everybody else like, what? We can't go. And then
That makes sense.
But then it turns out to work in their favor.
That actually probably would be more interesting than just like, oh, we need an idea. So, and then it would probably be less stereotypical where it's like, oh, the girl comes up with the idea to escape. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool. If like, yeah, we got to escape. And then she's like, oh, no, wait, let's get all the animals too. Not without them. And then you guys are like rolling your eyes because it's like, oh, of course. But then that could be stereotypical too. So I don't know.
I feel like in my head too, I'm like seeing this scene where like you free this dragon otter and like it flies away. And then like maybe a few minutes later, you're like fighting through Fire Nation guards and you get surrounded. And then there's this moment of like the dragon like bursting out of the water, saving you guys, and you jump on top of it.
Do it.
I'm pretty down for that. Yeah.
I like that
The
one.
dragon came back.
Because I remembered to set her
Exactly.
free.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense because you're from Foggy Swamp. So
Yeah.
you care about
And I think
nature a lot.
yeah. Exactly. And I think I did have dragons in the past. I think that was like one of my histories or something.
Yeah, familiarity
think-
with dragon.
I believe you.
Or something.
I'll roll
I
with
don't
it.
know. I don't know. I think
I
or, like,
I
she
can't
had
tell
something.
you never hung out with a dragon before. I haven't.
No, I
don't
know
your
like what they
business,
were.
Monroe.
I can't remember what the history was, but I remember like I had something to do with animals. Maybe it was just a regular otter. I don't know.
We can explore
Otter,
that.
dragon, meh.
I kind of like that. Maybe there's something there. We can come back to that. Okay, so you've escaped at the end of Act 2. You escape on this dragon otter named Rue, R-U-U, and fly back towards probably in the direction of Chin Village. That is where our Act 3 starts. So what did we choose for Act 3 and how do we flesh that out?
What did happen? What happened to three?
It sounds like we were pursued to that point
Oh,
because
yeah.
we still needed help to get away from General Shi, who I'm guessing does not want people flying away on a dragon to go warn the world potentially.
I want to make sure it's a dragon otter.
Dragon otter.
not a
Thank you. I need to
dragon.
get my double animal names for Avatar. And so we were saved from General Shi by Elder Panchen.
And
Oh, yeah.
to Elder Panchen's own detriment.
Yes, and we're picturing Elder Panchen as a very elderly person, I think.
We didn't decide. I think that's what I'm envisioning, but
Yeah, so we had fled on the dragon otter, and then wherever we were in some village, and this elder kind of looked out for us.
I mean, it probably could
What
be
up,
Chin.
Tristan?
What do we think about it being Chin Village? It's right there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're
I'm thinking they just created a diversion or something, or at least stood in the way of Fire Nation troops.
And I think we talked about too it being the sort of thing where like you get to Chin Village and maybe they initially let the Fire Nation sort of like rummage through the town looking for you guys. And at some point there's a change in Elder Panchen's attitude and they decide to create a diversion to allow you guys to escape. But you don't know what happens to them after that.
Right. And that is going to hang heavy on us.
Oh yeah. Are you feeling it? You feeling the weight of your decisions now?
I haven't even made them yet, but I guess I have.
And that would, I think, is what we said where the pilot would end, right? It's just you guys flying away from Chin Village
with a new sense of
Yeah,
purpose.
Sense of purpose to inform the Earth King that the Fire Nation is coming.
Having ostensibly just failed the trolley problem.
All right. The good old trolley problem, classic.
You're going to need to bring people up to speed on the trolley problem.
Let's see. The trolley problem is really simple. You just kill the person whoever keeps tying people to the tracks,
point.
and there's no more problems.
So there's no more ethical dilemmas.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I instead like you presented with the option of saving one or the other track, and you're like, no, both tracks are gone. I'm gonna get the guy who originally did this.
You just
Yeah,
rewrite
screw
the
the tracks.
story.
The trolley problem, but it's not a trolley. It's just a car, and you can go anywhere you want.
Yeah.
I'm running this guy down.
It's very I like that Looney Tunes answer to the trolley problem.
That is good.
That's all I got. That's the only energy I have. I would like to point out that the fastest way to Ba Sing Se from Chin Village is to cross the Siwang Desert.
Yes.
I'm not saying we should do that. We should probably not do that. But if a bunch of kids were in a rush and they needed to get somewhere really fast, they might try to take the shortest route.
Oh man. And well, the Foggy Swamp is on the way too. Omashu's close. All right. Well, this is fun. Okay. I love maps. I'm a big map guy, so I like having the map up and seeing, tracking where you've been and where you're going. So,
Yeah, I also got mine up.
all right. So we've got our group focus to deliver the news of the destruction of the air nomads in the incoming destruction of the Earth Kingdom to the Earth King. During Act 1, you guys learned the frightening plans of General Shi, who was on her way to attack the Earth Kingdom after being instrumental in destroying the Southern Air Temple. You got captured by her, but you stole a dragon otter from one of her captains, Captain Saikon, and flew on the dragon otter thanks to Liko towards Chin Village. And it's at Chin Village where you were almost captured again, but thanks to Elder Pan Chen, she stood in your way and allowed you to escape. But who are these people? Who are you guys playing? So why don't we just go around and you can say what playbook you've chosen. We'll start there.
Sure. So I'm Steve Durgan playing the character of Ren Song, and I've chosen the Idealist.
Why don't you also do, and just do training and fighting style as well too.
Sure. And since I'm forgetting what the Idealist means, you can help me.
I definitely can. So the Idealist it's someone who has seen a lot of trauma in their life and now holds to a certain set of beliefs that they think strengthen those around them.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to awaken hope in people around me. I know the world's rough, and it's been rough for me, but trying to do something with it. I chose the fighting style of the Kyoshi fan, the war fan. So super excited about that. And then you also asked us for what?
Your fighting style and training. Your training in this case is you're our non-bender of the group.
I am the only non-bender, so I just have weapons.
Just have weapons.
I just have war fans, but don't worry, they're pretty serious business, so I'll be able to keep up.
I mean, I think Suki could take Sokka any day.
Well,
they're
that's
both
non-bender
That's
versus
true.
non-bender.
I think Suki could take a bunch of benders.
We've seen
I
her take a
think-
bunch of benders.
I think so, and I hope I can live up to that eventually.
All right.
Should we do our look as well so people can picture the
Yeah,
character,
why don't you
or-
just do that? Why don't you tell us what your character looks like, tell them their name, fighting style, training.
Yeah, so Ren Song's description I wrote up here. You see a boy of 16 in a black short robe with emerald trim. He has tousled dark hair, just long enough to hide his eyes. At his waist, you can see 2 war fans of iron and bamboo that hang by a cord. and they're painted gold and black. His posture is tense, his eyes wistful and far away.
I love it.
I love the idea of following up that description with a contrast of Osa's description, if you like.
Take it away, Johnny. Oh, Johnny had to go.
Take it away more like running away.
Yeah, no, I'll go next. Nicholas Coughlin, I'll be playing Chainal Launcher. He is I'm using the Successor playbook, which also allows me to do two different kinds of training, which is very specific to him. His first training is earthbending, and his second training is going to be like high technology.
Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about what the Successor's shtick is?
Oh yeah, so the Successor, like it sounds, is he's the heir of something. He's got this legacy that he's got to live up to, that's being passed down to him through his family, through some sort of tie. For him, it is specifically his family, and him dealing with the implications of being the heir to this legacy or idea or family.
And it's specifically like an infamous lineage, so it's usually a little less savory than other families.
Yeah, so not a great look for him. We'll probably get more into that as we get deeper into the character backstories. But yeah, for his training, he is an earthbender, but also has access to technology, which comes to his fighting style, combines, and he creates a sort of pseudo firebending by earthbending and combining in like a blasting jelly and combustible materials. So that's his shtick.
How does he do that so quickly?
Practice. He's all he was raised by a firebender, and he always wanted to emulate their style as closely as possible, so as to not be a disappointment. And basically, he wears like metal gauntlets on his hands, steel, and he keeps flints in like a wrist like pouch that on each wrist, which he then bends against the metal whenever he has like a some sort of trick prepped with, be it like he's thrown out some gunpowder or something, or he's hovered rocks covered with blasting jelly to create the look of a fireball. That way he's always ready to spark it up and get it going.
He's got like a flamethrower, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
I love it.
had to have a flamethrower. Couldn't get away with it.
There you go. This is for those that this is not official, but we've now introduced the first flamethrower.
Yes.
As early into, I guess there are other flamethrower type things, but this is the earliest to it.
There are firebenders, so they're kind of
living flamethrowers. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was preparing for a one shot that we were doing, and it was set in Ba Sing Se. And in my head, I was like, when did they introduce trains? And I totally forgot that the earthbenders are just the trains. They're just like pushing the train like along the like earth. And I was like, oh yeah, why would they? Of course that's what they do.
A job's a job, man. I mean, it's a great way to use that earthbending.
It is really interesting to think about all the ways in which society would change if people widespread had these abilities.
Magic abilities, yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, for Chainal, who goes by Che, he's got a pretty sturdy build, kind of like an earthbender, but he has the dark hair, kind of close cropped, very clean cut, but also the almond shaped eyes of a firebender. So
I like it.
Little taste of what he's going to look like. Not as poetic as Ren Song's introduction, but that's what he looks like.
I'm still waiting for Osa's. So
there's a spectrum of descriptions for sure. Red Song's on one side and Osa's on the other.
Way to do it.
Except Osa's is still very, very vivid. So we've been talking about him. Johnny, why don't you introduce us to Osa?
Yeah, okay. So I'm playing Osa, and he is So the playbook I'm using is the hammer, and for those of you who aren't familiar, the hammer is basically someone who's just looking for faces to punch. Osa's got a little bit of rage, and he's looking for somewhere to channel it. But he is an airbender, and I described his fighting style as Kung Fu Panda. If you haven't seen Kung Fu Panda, the best way I can kind of describe that fighting style for you is he likes to use whatever's at his disposal while doing everything in his power to avoid getting hit himself. And Osa is pretty tall. He's about 6'2". He's very, very rotund, to put it mildly. And he's always smiling, always looks like he's thinking about some joke that he's not telling you. But that smile rarely touches his eyes. And one of the other things that really stands out about Osa is that despite being around 16, and so pretty old in terms of young airbenders, he conspicuously has no airbending tattoos.
So that did go deeper than I remembered, because what I see on the sheet here is just Kung Fu Panda, but a human airbender. But I do like the depth that you brought into it there.
It's funny too, as the entire time I was thinking, well, when I watched Kung Fu Panda, I was literally like, well, this is just Jack Black, but a panda. So you brought it full circle to it's Jack Black, but a panda, but a human airbender.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Now I will never not see Jack. Like, I feel like if you were to choose an actor to play your character, it would be like a young Jack Black.
He's a little short for what I'm envisioning.
Okay. All right.
I'm personally impressed as to what Osa's been able to accomplish on that vegetarian diet of the airbenders. Dear God.
That's one of the big things about Osa is you will notice also if you're paying attention, he is rarely eating vegetables, and he's an airbender, but there's a lot of meat going into that mouth.
Oh,
We got a bunch of rule breakers in this group.
Rebels.
All right, we're down to our last two characters. Who's going next, Danny or Monroe? Fight.
Fight.
I can go.
all right. That was easy.
My name is Monroe, and I am playing a character named Liko. She's from Foggy Swamp. Her training style, her playbook thing is she's the icon, and her training style is waterbending, and her fighting style is ice knuckles. And as far as her look goes, she's pretty lean. She has an undercut with long hair that is usually held half up with piercing green eyes. I'm trying to keep up with Ren Song's description here. She has a side head tattoo of a dragon, and she also has burn scars on her back that she hides at all cost. It has also distorted her back tattoo of her tribe, and she's also 17.
I think is she the oldest then?
I think there was one other person that was 17, I thought, but I'm not quite sure.
I think Osa and Rensong are both 16.
We haven't heard from Rozak yet, but how old is Che? Are you envisioning?
Che is
She's
15.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
I think Rozak is the older brother, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so Rozak might be around the same age, but he, Liko might be the oldest, which kind of is interesting, placing her in that, sort of automatically places her in that leadership role, essentially. Whether or not she wants
But
it.
also being the only girl.
And being the only girl, yeah.
So who knows if she'll be taken seriously. So we'll see what happens.
Depends on our characters
Yeah.
and how dumb they are.
For those who are following along or a little unfamiliar, the icon, their whole thing is they're the representative of a tradition, and they sort of have to hold to certain standards. And so they're just trying to figure out how do they live life as a teenager and yet still hold to some of these oftentimes too strict things. I did have one question, and when we first did this, we're like, what is Liko's fighting style? We're like, Ice Knuckles. How cool is Ice Knuckles? Now, I don't know if you've watched the Foggy Swamp episodes yet, but the Foggy Swamp tribe has a really unique way of water bending. They like essentially bend the water in vines to like whip vines around and create like vine monsters and all these things. So where did she learn ice knuckles from? Someone at the Foggy Swamp tribe? Was it something she learned maybe after leaving the Foggy Swamp tribe?
I think she was introduced to it at Foggy Swamp, but then learned how to master it on her own. She's a bit of a lone wolf, this one. So I would think that a lot of what she does do in general is that she has someone introduce her to something and then she takes it off from there. It's like part of her personality.
I like it. Okay, so maybe, yeah, someone at the Foggy Swamp was like, theoretically, I guess we could make ice out of our water bending. And she's like, oh, okay.
I like how my people talk like that, but that's cool.
I will not make you talk like that. But if we have
That's cool,
Swaggy tribe people come up, I will be talking like that.
I mean,
Sounds good.
isn't that how they speak in the show?
That's why I left, guys. That's what I have to deal with at home.
Very fair.
I can't.
Where you going, Lico?
Lico, get back here now.
Y'all come back now. You're here.
But I don't want to go there.
We just lost like a bunch of our southern
No, guys, come back.
Come back.
No, you need to say y'all come back.
No.
Y'all come back now.
I feel like we're just digging a deep hole.
Yeah, probably.
Oh gosh.
Well, Danny, you're finally up. You gotta. I know you've been hiding, but you gotta tell us about.
I
Rosa.
didn't just add some of these details just now.
Damn.
These were in. These were all things that have been in my mind, but I was just like, they're not written down at all. And now it's set in stone, or set in Google Sheets, if you will. But yeah. So I'm playing Rozak Longshire, the brother or of Shaynao Longshire.
You guys just randomly share the same last name.
Yeah, no, we are actually.
We're actually just best friends.
Who has the last name?
He is a firebending citizen of the Earth Kingdom. Is that what we decided, that the dad's a firebender and the mom's an earthbender? Okay, yes. I'm just making sure.
Life's complicated.
Life's so complicated, guys. But yeah, he's a firebender raised by his earthbending mother. Him and his mother live in Ba Sing Se now because they had some complications where they used to live, and so they went to Ba Sing Se real fast. But yeah, he's a firebender. His specific fighting style is a more defensive fighting style where he focuses on making walls of fire and protecting himself and those who he's with. And speaking of protection, the playbook I chose was the Guardian. And what the rulebook says about the Guardian is the Guardian defends someone close to them, steadfast and watchful. So I guess you play the Guardian if you want to be the first to see danger coming and the last line of defense.
What do you say? That's what the rulebook says. But in your heart, Danny.
In Rozak's heart, his main focus of being the Guardian is his younger brother, Shaynao. He's a protective person in general, but his focus of protection is his brother.
Would you go so far as to call him your ward?
Whoa. That's so meta. Yeah. Yeah, so ward is something that the Guardian chooses, and
it's the person they're trying to protect.
The person they're trying to protect. Yep.
Did you tell us what Rozak looks like?
Yes. Rozak is a more like slim cut guy. He has black hair cut into a bowl cut because he's a little dork. And he has green eyes. And he always dresses like a dirty street dweller.
I'm picturing like Rock Lee from Naruto, but after
that's what
getting
I'm
dirtied
picturing.
up from a fight.
But all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Wakes up like that.
I will have
I
some.
mean, that bowl cut, I don't know how it stays perfect all the time.
I have a picture, but I'm trying to figure out how to upload it here. I can't get a. Yeah. I'll
Should be able to
figure it
just
out.
drag and drop.
Really? Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah.
It's like the.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Please ask questions.
Yes.
Oh.
This is for Nick and Danny. Are you guys the same age, like twins, or were your parents like together for a while and then like something happened and they're like, I'm just gonna take one and you take the other? Like, is this a Parent Trap type of thing, or what happened?
Oh, could we change it to be that? Even if it wasn't.
It is now. It's a Parent Trap thing.
Yeah. It wasn't the plan before. So I don't know. I don't think we just like. I think Rozak was gonna be the older brother. Not much older, but older.
Yeah. Maybe
Like 2
they're
minutes.
like Irish twins. What's Irish twins? How do you define Irish twins?
Irish twins is where you get pregnant like immediately.
Oh
after
yeah.
the-
One mother having 2 children who were born 12 months or less apart. Oh.
I like how you offered that as a solution, and then
I
you're
didn't
like,
even know what
I
it
have no idea
was.
what this is.
I
just heard
I
this.
heard
It
it
could
like
be this.
once.
Wait, what is
Heard
that?
this term before.
Oh, man. Danny offering solutions.
Representing my Irish ancestry, I was like, what does this mean? All of a sudden, I was like, are they talking about me?
Am I an Irish twin?
Some probably hidden.
Let me offer a vaguely racist solution.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, I'm thinking of that term. And I'm like, that sounds not great.
It's not great. Yeah, no.
But I think Rozak's 17 as well, honestly.
Okay.
That makes the most sense.
So that'd make it like 2-ish.
So him and Liko are the oldest.
Yeah, but to explain that situation more.
I was gonna ask actually.
Yeah, so Rozak and so their mother kind of ran off with both of them. But being the successor playbook that I chose, their father isn't exactly, the most upstanding of citizens and sent his employees after them. But they only managed to take Chainal before their mother and Rozak got away. So
When was that? Like, how long ago did the 3 of you run away from your father?
very long.
Okay.
I
Danny, what do you think about that?
don't know. How old do you think you want to be for that?
Like when we ran away?
Yeah, I think it should be determined by you. Like, how old do you think Rozak should be for that?
When that happened?
Yeah,
I think maybe when Shaynao was 13 and Rozak was 15.
okay, so not that long.
Okay, so it's a couple years.
You mean like longer than like longer?
I'm
I'm thinking like the
I'm
sort of
fine.
thing that like Rozak would have a clear memory of, but Shaynao wouldn't because it was, he was
Yeah,
too
that's
young.
kind of what I was thinking towards. But we don't
I
have
get
to
it now.
know.
All
I
right.
just think your character should design.
I like that.
I
'cause,
actually do kind of like that.
that weighs on. That's a big part of, I would imagine, Rozak's character is this sort
Yeah,
of.
and I like that because it
memory
doesn't
of-
weigh as much on Shaynao.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be a fact. Okay, so
So,
maybe
Shaynao-
maybe it was like what, like I'm only 2 years older than you though, so that's kind of hard.
Yeah, so you'd have to be
He
like
could have been,
5.
like 5, and if he's a toddler, he might
Yeah.
not remember
At least not
all that
clearly.
much, no.
all the details. Yeah.
So when Shaynao was like 5.
No, when.
No, Shaynao was
No.
3.
Oh,
When Rozak
oh,
was
yeah.
5.
Rozak was 5.
So it was like 12, some years ago.
Maybe Rozak was already like a master firebender when he was 5, and he was like, "I'm a firebender, and you're gonna have to deal with that."
What's that have to do with it?
Is that the voice you're choosing for this entire campaign?
Yep, there it is. It's been locked in.
It's Rozak launcher. I'm the Guardian.
You just never matured past that.
Brother, you sound exactly the same as you did 12 years ago.
Your rescue is traumatizing. Oh no!
I mean, I can't stop you from doing that.
I can. I live near it.
Oh
Yeah, we'll send you back. We're like, yeah, we need a voice change from Danny.
Maybe that can be
I
the
just
voice
have
of
that old Vine.
What?
Remember that Vine with the kid where he's like, "I've got the power of God and anime on my side."
It did have that energy. Yeah.
That can be the voice of Cabbage Man's like great grandfather. Cabbages!
No. All right. Well, now that
Glad we established that.
for all of you listening to this, canonically, that's the Cabbage Man's great grandfather's voice. Well, since we've got into it, why don't we? We've done a little bit in history, but Danny, why don't you just you don't have to, ask and answer each question, but just give us the overview of Rozek's sort of history.
All right. I'm still gonna scroll down to that section because it'll make it
that's
easier
the
to
bottom.
answer these questions. History. All right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like basically the foundation of what shapes Rozek as a person is definitely that rescue of his brother. He kind of bases most of his I guess ethical problem solving and morality is stemmed from that. His mother, of course, had a very heavy impact on his life as well, being more fortunate than Chanel was and actually living with the loving parent. Sorry, Chanel.
Wow, what a rubbing in.
Yeah, it's all good. It's fine.
Oh wait, Chanel was listening.
Oh no! But yeah, their mother's name is Sunfen, by the way. And so I'd say
Father's name?
the father's name is
Naozo, right?
Naozo, yep, right there. Sunfen and Naozo. Yep, not sitting in a tree though. Yep. Yep. So, I'd say the two, I guess, heavy determining factors of that build and make Rozek's character is the rescue of his brother and an incident with his mother where he hurt her while he was firebending training because his mother, still being a loving mother, didn't want Rozek to be shameful of his firebending heritage, I guess, and wanted him to continue to progress in his skills. But through that progression, Rozek ended up hurting her, and so now he goes back and forth between this am I worthy to protect people if I might hurt them? And I need to protect my brother. The big thing that he struggles with a lot.
And you've got a sort of rival as well too, right?
Oh yeah. So he used to have a close friend, Dosa. He was also a firebender because looks at Dosa as someone who betrayed him because Dosa joined in the efforts of the Fire Nation.
So, but you said you were living in Ba Sing Se, yes?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I would imagine. I mean, this isn't Korra, right? So there's no United Republic city. You're maybe the only two firebenders in Ba Sing Se.
Maybe that's why they were so close.
Maybe that's why you're close. And maybe
Dosa,
that's you were training with Dorsa and your mom. And I would imagine that would be incredibly trust breaking if the only other firebender you've known growing up joined the Fire Nation.
Dang.
Well, let's just jump over to your brother and let's hear a little bit about sort of the backstory and history of Che.
All right, what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, you can just give us a brief overview of some of those history questions. You don't have to, answer each one, but just sort of the overview. I do want to know specifically. I'd love to hear from you what Che was thinking, like as he's being rescued. Like it almost seems like he didn't want to be rescued, maybe a little bit. But I don't know.
Yeah, so I think for most of his life, Che had just kind of like really tried to be the son that his father wanted him to be, this heir to this throne apparent, but just never felt like he matched up. The silent like disapproval, just knew fundamentally that his dad was never that cool with grabbing the earthbender son, and just trying to compensate for that and deal with it, and just kind of silently like putting all of that on top of himself, which like it's not even that he had necessarily like examined like what his father was doing and super disagreed with it, or even was really that critical of the Fire Nation. He probably considers himself pretty Fire Nation, being raised by his father. But yeah, when Rosette came, it was just this out of like, I'm here to take you away, and it was just this chance to not have that over him. And he didn't realize how bad he wanted that, because he had never even considered it, and he just leapt at it. And as we go through the pilot, I think his experience would very much be this like slowly dawning realization of like, oh, actually I was involved in something really messed up. And I actually am really glad that I'm not a part of this. And maybe I'm going to, I don't know where I'm going from here, but maybe I'm at least glad that I'm not under it anymore. And we'll see where that takes him.
Does your father's organization have a name?
I can't remember if I had come up with a name. Not yet. I don't have a name.
Well, there are two things.
Just cracking up thinking of names.
They're
The White Claw. The Angry Orchard.
Oh my god.
They have control of military command, right? That's one of their domains, and they're trying to get into land ownership. Do you envision them as just like a cog in the Fire Nation army, or are they sort of like a unit, or like a special group of?
Yeah, so I think I'd view them as like a special unit of like preliminary, like almost sleeper cell agents of like collecting resources and sort of prepping to be ready for the eventual invasion. Yeah, I don't know. For the when you said name, the Flame That Waits pops into my head, because that would be a good passphrase, but I don't think that would be a name for their organization, or something like that. But yeah, a name really isn't coming to mind.
I'm almost thinking like, this is more like spy movie, but like I'm thinking like Project Embers. Because like embers are like the end that. Of like a fire.
But I want to go like the beginning of a fire. Like, I don't know how that
Project Spark.
I do like that.
And you said there's a passphrase.
Oh yeah, the fire that waits.
Is there a like a response? It feels like it's something that's like.
Oh yeah, that would probably be the response, right?
Or maybe like the fire that waits burns brightest.
Leaves the biggest mark on the earth.
Scorches the earth.
Ah yes, there we go.
Yeah, you can't go with that, man. The Fire Nation's more poetic than that. Leaves the biggest mark. It blows up stuff.
It's a lot of fire. It's just a lot of fire.
It just burns a lot. Good, you can come in. That's the password.
It just keeps burning.
It's
It would be hard to remember that though. Like if someone just heard that. and you have to get it
Like you
that
had to do it
specific.
stuttering and all.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's like there's a really big fire and it like burns stuff. Yeah, you're good. Come in.
Is there like a symbol too that you would maybe know other members of this by, other than just a passphrase, or is it mostly the passphrase?
I'm thinking like an unlit torch or something. An unlit lantern.
Okay.
Something like that.
I like it. Okay. I like it. All right, who's up next? Why don't we... Well, let's just move down the line. Let's go backwards. Liko. You don't have to like ask and answer each of those history questions at the bottom, but just sort of give us like our listeners a general overview of who Liko is and where she comes from.
Do you think it might be helpful for those who are also playing to hear the questions?
Sure. If you want to ask, yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know how to go about it with that. I'm the new one here,
absolutely.
so.
Whatever's helpful.
So the question is, what tradition do you represent as its icon, and why can't you set down the role? So the tradition that I represent is the Foggy Swamp Way. And why can't I set down the role is because I never break my vows. Because that's also part of the Foggy Swamp Way. So, who is your chief mentor teaching you the nature of your burden and its value? So my character, Liko, had a foster mother named Kanu. She taught her the ways to survive in this world and how to be on your own and the loneliness it entails. And I'm also going to throw in there that she probably started teaching her how to do the ice knuckles. Who showed you that even with the weight of your burden, you could still find ways to play? Now, this is where I think I got confused with her history with dragons, because we put down here Dragon Otter Rue. So to change it just a little bit from what I thought I was doing, because apparently I didn't know what I was doing. At this point, before she meets Rue, she didn't get that display from anybody because she was pretty much a lone wolf. And so during this game that we're going to be playing, she's going to start learning. She's going to start getting that example from Rue, and also kind of shows her connection with nature and animals as well. So that's coming up. What token of your burden and tradition do you always carry? She carries a Foggy Swamp emblem, which is a tattoo hidden on her back. And if you remember the way how she looked is that she was burnt on her back, so her emblem has been distorted. And I'm hoping that's going to build up some really good character development between her and the only Fire Nation member, and why she has a certain point of view of Fire Nation, and also what that means to her, because she takes her vows so seriously and she has such pride at where she comes from, despite the way they speak, but to have that kind of distorted on her back, and there's no way to fix it.
I love that too, especially with Danny's guardian having burned his mother too. Mm-hmm. That's good.
It's also funny because it comes in layers with how Danny's a firebender, but Chenao was raised as a Fire Nation kind of kid.
I am glad. I like the way that... Sorry, I have some questions for Liko, but I was going to say I really like the way you guys took your brother's sibling, because when you first pitched it, I was like, I mean, that just sounds like Mako and Bolin. But I like the swap of the firebender and the Earth Kingdom and the Earth Citizen, and that's good. Liko, did you know your parents?
I was thinking that as I was saying that. I think she has a slight remembrance of her parents, but it's not that clear. I think the reason why she's more comfortable alone, because there's also some things in here, I don't know if we're going to be talking about it later, so I won't say it, but there's some things about her character and her personality where she's very straightforward and kind of stays true to her goals. And I think that might be the reason why, because they weren't a really big part of her life. So if she does remember them, or she does know them, it's very, very little.
Does she like remember what happened, or like why she's on her own? Or
I'm gonna say, just to add some difference in this whole group here, is that she doesn't know.
I love that. For this is a tip for you as new to this. As a GM, I love that, because that gives me so much room to do literally anything with your parents, right? Like the fact that you're just saying, I don't know what happened to them, it means that it can be anything. I can surprise you at any point with your parents. And so GMs love that sort of stuff, because it gives me a lot of room to play with it.
I also think it's a little representative of like real life. Sometimes we don't get to know these answers, or we don't get to know what happened.
We certainly don't figure it out by 16 or 17.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely not.
Exactly. So, or ever, sometimes, for some people.
I did have a question about Liko. So with the Foggy Swamp, it's like really big, and even the dude in the episode, you haven't gotten there yet, but there's the episode where the Foggy Swamp is introduced. The dude that they end up meeting there, who there's at least one guy. There's like the tribe that they meet, who talks kind of funny, but there's also another guy who actually isn't from the swamp. He came there later. His name is Shin, and he just kind of like took it upon himself to like live in the swamp because he just liked how close it was with nature. So I don't know if that intrigues you. I'm just saying there's like a precedent in lore for like your master to be not necessarily of like the Foggy Swamp tribe, but just maybe somebody spiritual who like appreciates the spirituality of the swamp and how close it is with how pure of an expression of nature it is. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, thanks.
Well, Osa, why don't you, Jenny, why don't you tell us a little bit about Osa?
Yeah. So I'll keep it I'll still keep it brief, but I'll go a little deeper than what I actually wrote here. So Osa ended up at the air temple a little bit later than a lot of other airbenders go, and didn't stay crazy long. But he really appreciated while he was there. Monk Pasang and Monk Gyatso both went out of their way to try and make him feel like less of an outsider and try to help him like fit in and understand the ways that the air nomads live by, but it didn't really work out super well. And so he left. But after he was trying to go back and talk to them about something, when he saw the air temple, the southern air temple, destroyed. And so he basically, as soon as he saw that happen, decided that he wanted to use the strength that he does have for good, and has set his sights on, he specifically wants to find General Shi and depose her.
And I think to some questions. He's not originally from the air nomad tribes, right? Like he didn't grow up there. He
grew up in a Earth Kingdom town that's too small to have a name, with non-bender parents. He's the only known bender in his family.
Okay. And that's super interesting, because I feel like that is something I was wondering, is like, how are air nomads, do they come about before, like we see harmonic convergence in Korra, but like you don't see a lot of fraternizing between the air nomads like you do in the other nations. So I think I like the way you went with that, to have it be an Earth Kingdom citizen that becomes an airbender.
I mean, I did think too, like, for whatever it's worth, that the town he's from is close to the northern air temple, which is like essentially in Earth Kingdom territory. It's just this like pocket in Earth Kingdom land. And so he's from near there. So it's possible that there's airbenders in his like,
maybe there's some fraternizing between those two.
But, but his parents were definitely not benders.
Oh, that's I'm looking at the map. That's close to a place called Lakima's Peak. Have you heard of Guru Lakima?
No.
It was a
He
joke.
accomplished. Oh, you actually haven't heard of Guru Lakima?
No, because that's what.
Everyone who's anyone's heard is of Guru Lakima.
Yeah.
Wow, Danny.
He. Oh, it's been a while since you watched Korra, I guess. Then.
Yeah, yeah.
Season 3. That's what we're gonna say.
Is that the person
character
who
says that
discovers
a
how to
lot.
fly?
Yeah, that's his. He's always.
Oh,
he's like
right.
I wasn't. Never mind. I won't make that joke. But he's always like, "Have you heard about Guru Lahima?"
Yeah. It's like, have you ever heard the definition of insanity? But Korra's version of
Have
that
you
line.
heard the word of our Lord,
Our Lord and Savior Guru Lakima.
Guru Lahima? All right. Last but not least is Ren's song. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about Ren's song and what kind of drives him and that sort of thing?
Sure. So, Rensong needs to have a tragedy that befell him at a young age. I decided to go with perhaps less traditional tragedy. My parents are both alive and well. I just really don't like them, and they don't like me. And they didn't like me first, for the record. So they had, obviously this didn't happen overnight. There was a lot of high demands and rejection that I experienced from a super young age. But at some point, they made it clear that I would never be a part of this family unless I followed their exact footsteps. And I've decided that for them, that meant essentially taking over the estate, handling family business matters, a lot of it's a privileged background, a lot of maintaining face and those sorts of things for the sake of the family name. And I just never felt like I could fit into that mold or satisfy it. And so I started to consciously rebel. I asked to leave. And the only way that I was able to justify that while staying on Kyoshi Island, where I was born and raised, was to become a Kyoshi warrior, which is interesting because those are only females. And I present as a male. So the Kyoshi warriors, I was allowed to be with them per my parents because I thought, this military stuff will straighten Ren out. It'll be helpful. Let him run off to that. It's kind of like a short leash. And the Kyoshi warriors taught me to stuff my emotions, to focus on my training as a warrior, and in that way it was helpful. But I ran away from that too. Because I just wasn't feeling like I could be a Kyoshi warrior either. So I've kept the clothes, kept the fans, kept all that I learned, but ran away from them. So I'm sort of a double runaway at this point. I carry a key to my parents' house with me. And that's just kind of a reminder of the legacy that I chose to leave behind and a little symbol of freedom and choices. That's Ren's song.
Steve, why don't you just keep going? Let's real quickly circle back around and we'll do our connection questions because I like those as well too. So every playbook has 2 connection questions that will tie them specifically to someone else in the party. So these, why don't you go ahead and read them and give your answer?
Sure. I recognize some of the pain that I've felt inside of Chenao, and I'm going to try to help Chenao. I feel like there's a connection there.
Yeah, it's really very reflective of our stories are of each
We
other.
both have some parent burden stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
So, I just want to make you happy, Dad, but now I don't. Anyway, the second connection is that Osa frustrates me so much when he acts without thinking about the consequences. Which is funny because you think as a double runaway that I'm not thinking about the consequences, but really I am. I'm like, these are great consequences. I might be an optimist to a fault, but I do think about the consequences.
Unbridled
Those are my
freedom?
connections.
Absolutely. Sign me up.
Let me take it.
All right. Osa, why don't you answer your connection questions for us?
Yeah, so Chenao has a way of solving problems with words instead of fists, and it's really impressive to me. Because I only know how to use my fists. And I worry that Rensong won't be able to hold their own when things get tough. But I'm gonna toughen him up.
Rensong, how do you feel about that?
I felt that. I don't know how I feel about it, but I felt something.
You feel something about it.
I like how those relationships, like those views of each other, are kind of like equal but opposite. Like,
Oh yeah, we'll be talking. You know, I mean, I definitely don't want to be underestimated. So I guess maybe I feel like I'm being misread already as like a flake. But who knows? We'll see. Toughen me up, Osa. Bring it on.
All right, Liko, why don't you answer your connection questions for us?
Okay. Osa seems to not fully understand what it means that I'm the icon of my tradition, and I kind of like feeling free around them. My other connection is Che makes me feel better about my responsibilities and my burden with a smile and a few kind words. Which is a little interesting considering what happens in the next connection.
Che, why don't you answer your connection questions? And for our listeners too, and for those new to the game, we've answered these questions with people in the party. It's a blank space for someone else in your party, so these aren't supplied by us, obviously.
right. So this one would be blank, has major concern. What else? But I chose Liko has major concerns, fears, or grievances with my lineage, and by proxy, me. Which makes sense, considering she was assaulted by some sort of Fire Nation member. But I think there are times where just in interaction, we've like moved past that. And so I think Che is kind of just like a nice kid and has like been able to support her, even though on the surface she's kind of like, you're Fire Nation though. I don't know about that.
It's her pride.
It's fair. Then it was Ren seems free of their past in a way I wish I could let go of mine. Hearing them talk about their future feels amazing. So
Join with me.
Yes, the other side of that question. He's like this like anarchist is right next to him, and he's lived his whole life like prim and proper, and he's like, this started sounding pretty sweet. All right, yeah. So that's
Perfect.
Let's Che.
Danny, why don't you answer your why don't you answer Rozak's connection questions?
All right. The first one is Shay now is my ward. They need me to have their back. End of story. You're nothing without me. If I wasn't here, you'd be squashed like a bug, Shay now. You'd be burned like a pancake,
marshmallow.
like a pancake forgotten in the morning.
Like a Foreman grill of bacon.
And my second question, my second connection is Liko looks like they're more than capable without my help. I'm glad some of us can take care of ourselves. Because
I didn't realize that Liko's the oldest too when you answered that initially.
I don't know if I realize it either, but it all works out, doesn't it?
It's a little passive aggressive, but you know, it's cool.
No, it's kind of
Yeah, it's cool for me, but the rest of them.
Oh yeah, no, I mean because
Try to save us.
Some of us can take care of ourselves.
you know, I mean, Oza doesn't even have his arrows, and Rensong can't bend, so
Yeah, and he also thinks that I'm a wee little baby.
Oza think that Shay now is still 3 years old.
That is definitely a cognitive distortion.
Oh, Shay, do you need
We will work on
a
that.
diaper change?
Older brothers have that. I can confirm.
That's true. All right, those are all the connection questions we've done. We've delved a little bit more into, I think, the characters and the campaign to the point where I think it makes a little bit more sense. But that that's sort of an overview of what a zero session would look like. There's a few more mechanical choices that you would make, and you can listen to our first episode to kind of hear what some of those other mechanical choices are. We're going to release this episode and the first episode we record and our second episode as well, all at the same time. So if you want to listen to us fiddling around with like mechanical choices and whatnot, you can listen to the first episode. If you just like character and backstory and interaction, you can just listen to this. This should still be enough to get you into the story. Or you can listen to both if you like hearing us make mechanical choices and make general she jokes. You can listen to the first episode, and you can listen to us talk about our characters in this episode too. Please rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. And I heard that if you give us a 5-star review, Johnny will come to your house and cook you a 5-star meal, 5-star 3-course meal, right, Johnny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely
perfect. What are we thinking?
I have got like 3 different menus they can choose from, so it's really up to them.
Cabbages.
Coming with the options.
Are you ready for the vegans as well? Are you ready for
give them an airbender meal?
Vegans. No vegans.
No, okay.
Pescatarians welcome.
Osa said no vegans.
Are you going to be true to Osa? Like, are you going to show up in character as Osa and be like, "Oh, I only brought meat"?
Yeah. Spoiler alert: all 3 courses are meat.
Just meat.
It's like it's just barbecue, I think, man. I don't think it's a 3-course.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of our American audience will be all
They'll
about
appreciate that.
They'll eat that up.
Yeah. Well, look forward to Johnny's cooking. It's fantastic, and we'll see you next episode. Bye.
Avatar Legends was developed and produced by Magpie Games. The worlds of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Avatar: The Legend of Korra are property of Viacom CBS. Intro music is Dizu by Senbei. Outro music is Tokyo Funk by LATG Music. Logo and art by Cate and Matthew Mahnke. You can find more of their work at pomakin.com.